Wednesday was the World's Anti-Corruption Day. As you have heard, corruption is about $5 trillion business around the world, and it looks like it's not yet over. So here in Nigeria, there's something that we're all very familiar with. So a new survey was conducted by NOIPolls, and we have the head of corporate communications and external affairs at NOIPolls, Uche Adighibe, in Abuja studios to talk to us about this report. But in summary, it shows that quite a good number of Nigerians will pay a bribe to get their way, 2,000 naira. Well, so Uche, talk to us. You're smiling. Good morning.
Well, thank you very much, Wilson.
That's a very surprising and interesting conclusion. 32%, one-third of Nigerians admit that they will go through with the corruption procedure, will rather pay 2,000 to go to a law enforcement officer, the police to be more precise. Good morning. Give us a summary of this report that you released yesterday for the World's Anti-Corruption Day.
All right, thank you very much, Wilson, and also thank you to our viewers. Yesterday was International Anti-Corruption Day, and NOIPolls, in conjunction with Leap Africa, conducted a poll on corruption in Nigeria. And headlines of the poll show that about 8 in 10, actually 85% of Nigerians feel that corruption is prevalent in the country. Only about 2% say that it's not prevalent at all. Incidentally, about 13% say it's to some extent that corruption is prevalent. Also, the main factors listed that cause the prevalence of corruption in Nigeria are, first of all, weak public institutions, followed by poverty, and then scramble for resources. You also have issues like lack of openness and transparency in the public sector.
Now, is it disappointing, or does it confirm the fact for you folks who conducted the survey that 32% of Nigerians would pay 2,000 naira to go through a police enforcement, a law enforcement agent, just to get away from whatever it is?
Well, the issue is its perception. If you were to check the whole factors listed by Nigerians, actually one of the factors listed there was cultural acceptance of corruption in Nigeria. And that particular thing that we played out in terms of asking questions showed that 32% mentioned that they would pay 2,000 naira as a bribe, as against going through the normal process of maybe getting your driver's license or your car particulars. Also, another 3% mentioned that they were a bit likely to pay. And I was talking with a group of people, outside, and they mentioned that, well, it depends on how fast you are or what you want to achieve. But at the end of the day, what the generality of Nigerians are saying that 32% would pay 2,000 naira to go off and not follow through the right procedure. But the good thing is that a larger percentage, about 59%, mentioned that they would not go pay the 2,000, but they will go through the correct process. And it also shows in the recent report that shows that Nigeria has left #1 most corrupt country in Africa to #3 now, being taken over by South Africa and also Ghana. So it shows that the work on corruption and also anti-corruption is really yielding results.
If you look at some of the charts and the tables, and we thank you very much for supplying us with those PDF formats, information graphics that you put there for us on the TV screen. To what extent do you think there is a prevalence of corruption in Nigeria? Look at it nationwide, 85%. In gender, 85%. Male, 86%, female, 84%. So there's a bit of a kind of net off. Okay, fine, no problem. Geopolitical zone. We all agree across all the 6 geopolitical zones at an average of 85% that we have corruption. Age group, not much different. So we all agree that there's a corruption. Now, I go back to that question, but we all agree as well that we will pay 2,000 naira, which means that if you go back to the first page, you talk about the agencies most corrupt. The police come first, ministries and departments, what they call the MDAs, #2, politicians and political parties rank #3, 11%, armed forces or security agencies in general, 10%, the NNPC, 4%, education, 3%, power sector, 3%, judiciary, 2%, private organizations, 2%. So, based on this, it looks like if you put it all together, everybody is involved.
Well, everybody is involved because if 85% would say that there's a high prevalence, it shows that everybody knows about it. And also, there's this issue of perception in the country, and your perception is your reality. But we have to go beyond, the narrative of saying there's corruption, and putting figures to this corruption issue that we're talking about. And that's what NOIPolls just did with Leap Africa by conducting this poll. If we have figures attached to it and then we can trend it over time, then we would know whether corruption is on the increase or it's on the decrease. Presently now, why it seems as if everything, is about fighting and tackling corruption is because it's out there in the media space. It's in the front burner. And, in terms of businesses and also how it affects businesses, if corruption can be handled effectively, then you're sure that businesses will really grow in this country. Another issue also that we took a look at is usually at the beginning of the year, we conduct a poll where we ask Nigerians, what would you want the administration or the government or the president to do for you in this year? And corruption has always come out tops, at least in the top 5 in the past 5 years. So the issue of corruption needs to be nipped in the bud.
Uche, let's come back to this, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. Pardon me. Everybody wants the president, specifically by name, President Muhammadu Buhari, to handle corruption. But everybody is involved.
Everyone is involved because if you were to check in that list that you mentioned, that the private sector is part of it, the judiciary is part of it, the educational sector, every sphere of life is involved. It behoves on the Nigerian populace, to ensure that at every point in time, in everything that you're doing, that you make sure that you try as much as possible to eliminate corruption. But we're not advocating for any of those. What we do is we provide data, evidence-based research, so that those who are making leading the advocacy will be able to advocate, knowing fully well that this data that we have, the evidence-based research that we have, will help answer strategic questions being raised by people and also support decision-making and policy formulation.
Okay. Uche, let's go back to that particular slide on the ranking of the organizations and the agencies that this survey consider the most corrupt in Nigeria. If you look at the police at 30%,
yes,
the ministries, MDAs at 27%, politicians 11%, security forces at 10%. If you look at the amount of money that are said to be in corrupt practices, what you call high-profile cases, except the last time we had 2 incidences in the police, a former Inspector General of Police and the director in the Police Pension Commission. Aside those 2, the political class, the ministries, the NNPC are considered to be the ones where you have the big ticket corruption, isn't it?
Yes.
So how come the police that, well, quote unquote, are led to collect 50 naira at a roadblock, compare 50 naira to perhaps $2 billion?
No, the issue you have to check here is, when we're conducting this, but we're conducting it across the whole geopolitical zones in Nigeria, the social demographics, the age, and also the occupation. And if people are having more interaction with any particular, organ of the government, then they would most likely give you the perception based on that. Most people who interact more with the police, more than they interact with maybe politicians or with the MDAs. Now, those who interact with MDAs might not be very high, but an average person, like if you were to check the gender demographic, there you will notice that the male has much more perception that the police is more corrupt than the female, because most times it's the male who has interaction with the police on the street. And also, when you're talking about 50 naira or 100 naira, no matter the amount, if someone collects some bit of money from you, whether it's legally or illegally, just because you have that interaction with the person, most likely your perception would show that the person will be more corrupt than someone else who you're maybe hearing in the news and you're just hearing from the papers. So it's way different. The interaction is also what leads to people giving you such responses.
Uche, help us out here. Help me out here. How do we get out of this foxhole? If I'm willing to pay 2,000 naira to escape a policeman, 2,000 naira on one hand, then a government official, whoever it was, well, we're looking for $2 billion. Who should I be scared of?
Well, the issue is if you were to add up the 2,000 naira across board and also multiply according to the number of Nigerians that you have, you could get to that amount of 2 billion. But the issue
Now
is that
you got me there. You've done the math.
Money is involved. As long as money is involved and it's illegal, it's corruption.
You've done the math. You're really clever. You just add the 2,000. If you add 2,000 by 160 million, you get to a lot of big ticket, isn't it?
Yes.
So those little drops of water do make a mighty ocean in business. So, in summary, what does this reveal about how much impact corruption in Nigeria has on the private sector doing business every day at whatever level?
Yeah. We conducted a poll between 2009 and 2012, Business Leaders Perception Survey, and the survey showed that corruption grew constantly from the third, factor that was limiting business in Nigeria to second in 2010. First, in 2009 it was third, 2010 it was second, and then in 2012 it rose to the first issue. And like I mentioned earlier, corruption has always been there in the top 5 issues that Nigerians want the president to, handle. So if corruption is handled, it would help, improve good business and also help business growth. Now, we're also releasing another report early 2016, where we've also captured between 2013 and 2015 the issues and also the factors that are limiting business in Nigeria. It's not just corruption we're talking about here. Power is also there, roads, the tax system. You also have insecurity. Insecurity, incidentally, rose from 5th in 2009 to 2nd in 2012. And it's ranking between the first 3 now in 2015. So you see the power of corruption, security, and now see what's in the public space about security. You can also link that to corruption. So if you juxtapose everything, you would notice that the issue of corruption, it's high there on the agenda of what needs to be handled in this country for businesses to thrive and also do well.
Thank you very much for putting it together. We like that, those perspectives, insight, and the context within which you placed this very important discourse. Perception of Nigerians on corruption. Uche, thank you very much. Do have a great day. Uche Adighibe from our Abuja studios, the head of corporate communications and external relations at NOIPolls. We'll be right back.